Okay, friends, so I'm going to be giving some initial, a little bit more instructions on the meditation practice for those who are tuning in over Zoom. Welcome to this retreat. And so far, last night and this morning, I've been practicing, trying to just keep our mind in the present moment, in the breathing body, which is really the first stage of any real, could say, meditation practice, or at least the mindfulness, the development of awareness. So I wanted to say a few more things about that. So actually, we're practicing meditation, right? So meditation is an English word, of course, but it's very interesting that whoever chose that word is very interesting because it kind of matches what we're doing, meditation. So meditation, it starts with spelling, right? M-E-D-I. Any other words you can think of begin with M-E-D-I? Medicine? Medium, let's say, especially mediation, mediator, or medicine, or even media. Now, what do those words have in common? Something being a bridge between two opposites, something being in the middle between two opposites. So medicine is in the middle between sickness and health. Mediator is in the middle between arguing people, trying to resolve their differences. The media also is trying to flesh out the truth, right? Between falsehoods and different opinions. So what is meditation in the middle of? So meditation is keeping the mind in the middle between these dualities, between the opposites of past and future, pleasure and pain, the body and the mind, as well as self and others. So these are the four things that the mind is constantly being pulled back and forth between, creating most of our worries, frustrations, desires, aversions, dredging up old memories, and just keeping our mind basically swirling around in circles between those opposites. So meditation, it's interesting that they chose the word meditation for the practice of meditation, because really that's where it starts and ends, is trying to keep the mind in the middle. And in this case, especially starting in the middle between the past and the future. So our mind is constantly moving back between the past and the future. Whenever you hear, see, taste, smell, feel something, you're remembering that, your experience of those things from the past with like or dislike, the memories, and then projecting that into the future with more of the same. And that's what triggers off all of our basic worries, frustrations, stress, anxiety, and the mind constantly moving back and forth. So the present moment, the practice of meditation is learning how to anchor the attention to the body and the breathing, because the body and breathing is the only thing we have that's always occurring in the present moment. And the body is always here. It's either sitting, standing, walking, laying down, whether it's moving, doing this and that, all that is occurring in the present moment. And all you have to do is remember it and to feel it. But most of the time, we're not in the body. 80% of our life is spent lost in mental thoughts of the past, future, anxiety, worry, or sleeping. So meditation is a practice of developing the natural inborn awareness of the present moment awareness, which is basically the universal energy, you might say. But specifically, it's a vibration of our consciousness. We'll talk more about that later. But anyway, so using the breathing and the body is really the only thing that you have that's occurring in the present moment. Everything else, the mind is thinking, relating it to the past and the future. And all problems that we have are problems of the past and the future. Try to think of any problem that you have and see if it's not related to the past or the future. Like having fear of sitting an hour of meditation and projecting that you're going to have certain pains in the future because of sitting still so long, or any other types of worries. So anyway, that state of present moment awareness is actually the natural state that we were born with. I'll talk more about that later too. When we were born as a young baby, 1 or 2 days old, our mind was basically in the present moment, without thoughts of the past or future. But we lost that. Anyway, I'll talk more about that later. But anyway, I wanted to specifically talk about the 3 main hindrances to being able to do that. I mean, that present state of awareness is always there underneath the surface of our neurotic mind and our outward focused mind. And so to develop what is called mindfulness and concentration, we're placing that on an object of the present moment, which is the breathing or the body, and just trying to remember it and feel it. And that should be the natural state of our mind, but our mind has become unnatural because of the modern living and in evolution and so on. But anyway, so the 3 main obstacles to focusing the mind or developing mindfulness, especially of concentration, are sleepiness, pains, and too many thoughts. Sleepiness is the worst of all of them. And sleepiness means you may not be asleep, but it's kind of that drowsy, that sense of drowsiness. The mind loses its alertness. It starts to go into a dream state or a sleep state, or just a fuzzy, muddle-headed state, which is, not very alert and not feeling the body or breathing really. But especially going to sleep. And even though you might have slept for 7 or 8 hours at night, you wake up in the morning and you should be awake. When you try to meditate, then after 5 or 10 minutes, you'll notice, that kind of drooping of the head. Anybody notice that? Anybody have any of that? Well, the reason for that is it's an ingrained habit. Now, who do you know in the world that sits down in the middle of the day, closes their eyes, and doesn't move, and doesn't go to sleep? You know anybody like that? Probably not. So basically, it's a habit of our body and mind. Anytime you sit still and close your eyes, the body and mind immediately think, oh, it's time to go to sleep. And so that process automatically starts. So it's something that has to be retrained. And basically, it's just a reprogramming. So it takes a lot of kind of effort to do that. So actually, meditation is a kind of reprogramming our body and mind for a worthwhile and specific purpose of learning how to develop more present moment, concentration. So anyway, the sleepiness is one thing. And the main thing that causes sleepiness is the first thing that happens is gravity grabs the chin and starts pulling it down. That's the very first thing that happens when you're meditating. Because we have this big head, right? Sitting on top of a small neck vertebrae about the size of a 25-cent piece. This head that weighs 5 or 10 pounds, depending on how much hair you have on top or gold crowns you have in the mouth. And there's nothing under the chin to support it. So the first thing that happens is gravity grabs the chin, and because your neck muscles are weak because you don't exercise them properly, the chin goes down. And because also you're not used to being aware of the body, we're used to being in the future. You're not aware of the body, so you don't notice the chin going down. Before you know it, you realize, oh my goodness, and you were half asleep. So that's why the attention to the posture is important. A lot of meditation teachers don't emphasize that. They just say breathing, breathing, breathing on it. No, posture is even more important than the breathing, because the breathing is happening within the posture. So if you're aware of the posture, you'll also automatically become aware of the breathing. But anyway, more on that later. So the ability to notice when the chin is starting to go down, because when the chin goes down, it causes the body to kind of lean forward. It causes your shoulders to kind of cave inward, and it constricts your lungs in the chest so that the breathing then becomes more shallow. And that shallowness adds to not enough oxygen getting into the system, so that your cells of the body are half starved, and that makes the sleepiness even worse. And it keeps you slouching down until some people wind up like this. And the meditation totally stops. So that's why the posture, attention to the posture is so important, even more than the breathing in the beginning. So the ability to hold it posture straight is one of the, one of the primary efforts in the beginning. And that's why we do the yoga also, because most people, the spinal column and the back muscles are not strong enough to maintain an alert, the straight posture. Because meditation happens between your brain and the spinal column. It's where all these sensory vibrations of the world are coming through your senses. They are relayed through the nervous system, which is located on the right and left side of the spinal column, the primary nerves. And that information is relayed to the brain, where you have hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, consciousness. So if you slouch like that, that energy gets impeded, and that's why we get lost in our thoughts so easily. Okay, so sleepiness is one thing. And then the second is pain. So as you sit longer, you're going to have pains in the body, because that is the nature of the body, to have pains. But a lot of the pains are unnecessary. And much of the pain is due to slouching. Because when you slouch, that impedes the flow of blood and the life force between the joints. the spinal column gets compressed, and also the joints of your elbows and the legs and everywhere else. That life force cannot really, permeate enough, and that builds up pressure, which is pain. So pain is the blockage of the life force, and that can be due to both the physical body as well as even our thoughts block it too. So, but pain is an important part of meditation. And usually people are afraid of pain. So the least little onset of pain, they rush for the Tylenol or the ibuprofen or something else to get away from the pain. But when you're sitting, you're constantly kind of going like this, trying to find the most comfortable position, or you have an itch or something and you're rubbing this or doing this, and all of that distracts the meditation, becomes a hindrance, and it also dissipates your energy. So the ability to endure discomforts and pain, and especially like the little itchy feelings and little prickly or stinging sensations that you're going to feel during meditation, or other kind of uncomfortable sensations. Just out of habit, we're constantly doing this because no one ever told us not to. We see people doing it the other night. I was seeing some person giving a talk on a video, and they had a beard. During the whole time, he was constantly doing this on a video that's been watched by millions of people. Right? Constantly. Of course, I had a beard, and I used to do that myself, so I know. But anyway, none of those are going to kill you. Most of the sensations that you feel are not life-threatening. And if you just learn to relax and watch them, actually you can get some kind of an enjoyment from just watching the itchy feelings and uncomfortable feelings, and relaxing around them, and just seeing how they just arise, last a few moments. And if you don't pay specific attention to them, most of them disappear, or they fade into the background, and you can carry on whatever you were doing, but without wasting your energy in trying to remove them. Anyway, we'll also talk more about that later, but just mentioning that. So the ability to sit still, relax around the painful sensations, or not even painful, they're just irritations. Let's call them irritations, because most of them are just irritations. They're not really pain. Of course, there are some pains. You have chronic pains and so on. Okay, that's there. But we can also learn how to just observe them and try to at least endure them a little bit longer. So when you feel pains coming up, first you have to notice that pain is disturbing the mind. You have to recognize that. And then you can't do much about the pain itself, but you can observe the mind and relax the mind's grasping the pain or identifying with it. That is happening to me, my body. And then you start worrying. So part of the meditation, keeping the mind in the middle, is you're in the middle between the pleasure and the pain. So keeping the mind in the middle between the past and the future, the present moment, and keeping it in the middle between pleasure and pain. And then the third hindrance is then just too many thoughts, what you call monkey mind. Monkeys go through the forest, they're grabbing one vine and then, letting go of that one, and swinging and grabbing another one, and they move through the forest. So that's how our mind keeps moving, being distracted, feeling something here, and then feeling something here, and a sound, and keep on struggling to either get what it wants or to get away from what it doesn't want. Anyway, so notice the thoughts are more subtle, because thoughts arise from the unconscious mind. But because we're not grounded in the body, the thoughts are coming up and we don't see them. And then they carry us away into thoughts of the past and the future without us even knowing. And you realize, oh my gosh, I was lost in thought. Now, how many of you noticed that last night or this morning? Notice yourself getting lost in the thought. Why did you get lost in the thought? You ever think about it? Why did you get lost in the thought? Because you didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming. Now, if you're centered in the body and aware of the breathing, sitting, breathing, you'll be more able to see thoughts when they start to come up. And you can recognize, thinking. And you'll be able to let go of the thought before it's carried you totally away. Or if you find yourself already lost in the thought, just recognizing it as thinking, pulls the mind back from it a bit. So, it's just a thought. And you can let go of it more easy and keep coming back to the breathing and the sitting. So anyway, those main three hindrances, that's really most of the work that you do in meditation. Because once you're able to stop reacting or getting lost in those hindrances and the mind becomes centered, that's the state of meditation. And then it becomes very easy after that. So most of the work is learning how to be alert and awake for the hindrances and applying the appropriate sort of antidotes to be able to let them go and to keep coming back to the present. So that's what we're going to continue to work on in today's meditation. And again, the body and breathing is really that anchor to the present moment. And that's why when we use the terms like breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, or it's that we're not focusing only on the breathing, but also trying to feel the body that's around the breathing. So the breathing is occurring in the middle, but around it, there's this body. And so in the pauses between the breaths, usually people's mind wander during the pause because they think, oh, I watched the in-breath. And then they relax for a second, and then because no one told them to pay attention to the pause, the mind, in a nanosecond, it will get lost in thoughts. So the pause is very important, because if you're aware of the pause, you'll be aware when the breath starts going out, and then you feel the contracting of the out breath. And at the end of the out breath, there's another little pause, even if it's very short, a fraction of a second, but deliberately to pay attention to it and to feel the posture in that pause. And then you'll be aware of the start of the next in-breath. So it's being aware of the expanding in-breath and the pause, the contracting out-breath and the pause. That's how you develop the concentration, the unbroken concentration, the links. The pauses are the links between the in-breath and the out-breath. And so that's what we're always trying to come back to. Whenever any of those hindrances arise, you try to be alert to that. And to, if you notice the chin down, and on the next in-breath, just mindfully lift the chin up. Or if the spine is slouched like that, on the in-breath, kind of just straighten the spine up. It's that inward curve of the lower spine. That's probably one of the, along with the keeping the chin level, keeping that in the natural inward curve of the lumbar spine. You've all heard of that, the lumbar spine? Okay, it's there for a purpose. Nature made it for a purpose. Anybody know the purpose? because half the body is from the waist up, half the weight. You have 50 or more pounds of bones and flesh, on top. And so that inward curve of the lower spine helps to resist the downward pull. That's the purpose of the spine, of that inward curve. So that's why that's also a good mindfulness point. The chin, the inward curve of the lower spine, if you can keep those two and keep feeling them in between the breast, come back and notice that. Or if you're out of that, you're slouched, you take a deep breath and you come back up. It's like a cork, submerging a cork in water, right? And you let the hand off the water and the cork comes back up. So the same way, if the body's slouching like that, you take an in breath. That air in the lungs kind of pops the body back up to its straight position. And you let out the breath and bingo, you're right there again in the present moment. Breathing in, breathing out. So that's how we try to train with the body and the breathing to be able to maintain that alertness. Because the straight posture will minimize pains, and it will also help you to be more alert for thoughts, so that you'll spend less time being lost in your thoughts. Does any of you have any questions about that? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start our practice. And, if you have the thing with the pain is that, this is not like a torture chamber. We're not trying to torture people by telling them not to move. But, so you try to endure discomforts a little bit longer each time. But if it gets up to the point where your thoughts, you're about ready to come up and strangle me because I'm not ringing the bell on time, then mindfully stretch out your leg or adjust your posture, whatever you need to do, and then come back to the breathing and sitting. But you try to endure it, 30 seconds or 1 minute longer each time. And especially the urge to want to, do this. Those are not pains. Those are just very, very minor, insignificant little sensations. But they're just habits that we're always doing all the time. So actually, you can get a lot of joy out of observing those and relaxing around them. Saying, yeah, well, I didn't have to do that. And that will help you to stay more concentrated. And that's the way you develop your concentration. All right? So we're going to go ahead. So we're going to do a sitting for a while, and then as we did before, we're going to mindfully come out after about 30 or 40 minutes into standing. And then we're going to do a period of some walking meditation around, and then sitting down again for another sitting period up until the lunchtime. Now, if we can turn those fans on, it's starting to get a little warm in here, so they don't know about it where it is. Ines, do you know where the fan is on that thermostat? It's on the right-hand side. At the bottom of it, there's a little thing that says fan. A little black toggle switch at the bottom of that. Auto or on. The on. You should hear that fan. Now, during this time, as I mentioned, if the pain gets too much and your mind is too distracted, then just mindfully stand up. You can stand for several minutes, do some standing awareness, and then sit back down later. But learning how to endure pains and discomforts is one of the most important parts of developing the mind and meditation. You just try to sit as comfortably as you can. Just try to establish that natural inward curve of the lower spine, but don't over-exaggerate it. Just gently close your eyes. Just keep your chin lifted up level with the floor. Kind of imagine that you are balancing a tall stack of books on top of your head. Try to feel the outline of the sitting posture. Then move your whole head and spine backwards a little bit until you feel like you're coming to the tipping point where you might tip backwards, and just stop or come forward just a little bit, fraction of an inch, so it doesn't feel too strange. And try to hold that mental image, the outline of the posture in the mind's eye. And just remind yourself of sitting, sitting, sitting. And we're going to move our attention down through the body to feel different parts of the body and the sensations of the body. First of all, just feel the eyes and the sockets, or to feel the eyelids stretched over the eyeball. Try to feel your face muscles. Feel the skin stretched over the front of the skull. Feel the nose. Feel the lips touching together. You just keep reminding yourself of sitting, sitting. Whenever thoughts come into the mind, just sitting, sitting. Now moving the intention downwards, feel your shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders. Feel that light touch of the clothing touching the shoulders. The present moment. And feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. Feel the clothing touching the skin of the arm. And move the attention into the center to feel your chest. Feel the clothing stretched over the skin of the chest. Take a couple of deep breaths to feel that expanding and contracting of the chest and the clothing rubbing the skin. Hold the air in the lungs 2 seconds. Feel that expanded sensation of the chest. in the out breath. Moving the intention downwards to feel your stomach. Take another deep breath to feel the clothing rubbing on the skin of the stomach. Present moment awareness. Now feel that natural inward curve of the lower spine. You sort of imagine or feel how that helps to keep the body upright. Feel your head balanced on top. Now feel your buttocks pressing the seat. Feel or imagine that 100 or more pounds of body pressing the seat. Feel some sensations there where the buttocks press the seat. Just remember sitting, sitting. Now feel your hands and fingers where they touch together, where they touch your legs. Try to feel those subtle sensations in your hands and fingers. The pulse of blood. Feel the way your knees are bent, and the lower legs tucked underneath. Feel where your feet press the floor. Feel the subtle sensations, life force sensations in your feet and toes. Just keep remembering sitting, sitting. Keep the mind from getting lost in other useless thoughts. You now let the awareness kind of come back up through the body and rest on the eyes again. Just kind of gaze into the eyeballs with awareness. You should be able to feel that outline of the body as you kind of just gaze into the eyes. The vague outline of the body should be there. The head on top, arms at the side, clothing touching the skin, buttocks and feet pressing the floor. Just like looking in a mirror, you should be able to kind of feel the outline of the body. Just sitting, sitting, keeping the chin lifted up level to the floor. Feel that alert attention. Then begin some deep, slow breathing again. It'll take 2 or 3 seconds to expand the abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Feel the air coming into the upper chest. Hold the air in for 2 or 3 seconds without straining. And feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs on the out breath. Let's continue that several more times, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. And again, we're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10. Try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. Just letting your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Anytime you lose your counting because you're lost in thoughts, keep coming back. So try to do that counting on your own. Try to make it to 10 breaths without the mind either going asleep or getting lost in thought. Each time it goes to sleep or lost in thoughts, start the counting again at 1. So it's like a challenge not to drift off. At the end of the in-breath, counting the number at 1. The end of the out-breath, repeating the same number, 1. And the pauses between the breaths, check your posture. If you're slouching on the next in-breath, straighten up the posture. Stay alert, awake, breath by breath, moment by moment. Overcoming the hindrances. When you're able to count to 10 without the mind getting lost, let go of the counting, try to maintain that basic awareness. In, sitting, out, out, sitting. From time to time, taking a few deep, slow breaths to help keep the blood oxygenated, help stay awake in the breathing body. Letting sounds come and go in the background. Thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Be like a scientist sitting in the laboratory looking down through a microscope. Notice the sensations of breathing, the expanding in breath and the pause, the contracting out breath and the pause. Especially be alert for the pauses between the breath. Pauses connect the in-breath to the out-breath, the out-breath to the in-breath. You cultivate a continuous concentration. Be alert for thoughts trying to sneak in to steal your mind away. You get caught up in thinking, recognize it as thinking. Gently let go of the thoughts, take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body. Back to in, sitting. Out, out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. Try to notice or understand how this air brought into the lungs is pumped out with oxygen, feed all the cells of the body. The out breath, breathe out the impurities, carbon dioxide. And add that kind of understanding to your meditation. Help stay focused in the present moment rather than thinking about useless things. In sitting, out, out, sitting. The ongoing present moment connection. With each out breath, allowing the body and mind to relax more and more into the present moment, being alert but relaxed. Quality of meditative awareness, being relaxed but alert at the same time. The body relaxed, the mind alert. Moment by moment. Feeling subtler sensations in the body, noticing subtler thoughts moving through the back of the mind. Be alert for any urges to move. Relax around those urges. If those unpleasant sensations, just be there in the background. They're no big deal. What thoughts arise in the mind based on that sound? Don't let the mind jump to the future. Just mindfully place your hands at the edge of the knees. And gradually transition from sitting awareness to stretching, standing up. You take one more deep breath. Stretch the head back, pull the hands on the knees to arch your spine backwards. Look up at the ceiling. Feel the arch in the lower spine. Feel the sensation. Lift the head up on an in-breath. On the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebrae. In-breath, lift the chin up level. Out-breath, relax. And slowly begin unfolding the legs. Feel the changing sensations with the relief of discomfort. Stretch one leg out at a time. The legs or feet are kind of numb. Flex your toes to bring circulation back into your legs and feet. Just try to flex your toes and the arches of your feet. Make those large circular movements with your ankles and feet. Loosen up the ankle. A few times in each direction. And bring the heels closer together, then we'll do the forward stretch, yogic forward stretch. The hands together at the chest. Breathe in, hands over the head. The out breath, touch your chest first. And reach forward, try to hold on to your toes. If you can't reach the toes, grab a hold of your lower legs. Put pressure on the stretch. The idea is that you stretch out the muscles in the back of the legs and also the spinal column. You pull the hands on the feet. Feel that extra stretch. Hold that longer, feeling all those sensations. The little bones in the lower spine. Stretch out. Rested together in many people. Cause of pain. On in-breath, sit up. Let your hands rest on your knees, straighten the spine. Close the eyes, sort of feel that outline of the body exactly as it is in the mind's eye. Head on top, straight back, buttocks pressing the floor, hands touching the knees, heels pressing the floor, clothing touching the body. You should be able to kind of feel that outline of the body, like looking in a mirror, sitting. So feel those alive sensations in the body, clothing touching the skin, other sensations. prickly sensation makes it pain. This body exactly as it is, body centered, present moment awareness. This body is really where you live. You live in this breathing body, so you should get to know it. Become intimately grounded, centered in it. Now draw one foot up at a time, draw one foot up toward your mat. And then the other foot. Place your hands on your mat or floor, and push up onto the balls of the feet into the squatting position. Place your hands flat on the floor. Feel that squatting position painful as you feel that. On an in-breath, slowly straighten the legs, feeling the muscles of the body pushing. Muscles in the legs pushing the body up. Standing all the way up straight, be aware of any rush of energy or dizziness. Steady, standing body. Your eyes closed. You need to look out. Everything's happening inside. Relax your arms to the side. Feel your eyes in the socket. Gaze into the eyes. Feel that outline of the body. Find yourself standing into deep, slow breathing. From the air, chest, or the air, the oxygenation of the blood. Let a bit of air go out on the out breath. Breathing in, letting go of the past and the future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and the future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Do that on your own. Be aware of those pauses between the breath. The out breath with the brief pause. the out breath, the feet pressing the floor, the in breath, the eyes, such. Not to exaggerate the breathing. Gently expanding, contracting. After the retreat, the chest. Slowly touching the skin. Thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Sounds come and go in the background. Moving in, standing. Moving out, standing. And feel the beauty of it. Simplicity, standing. Wonderful here and now. There's a moment of no anxiety, fear, worry, it's an action for life. Now we're going to do a period of some walking around the room. We'll prepare for that. The people standing over on this side, move your cushions in so you have a corridor of about 2 feet wide, walking through the wall cushions. Then kind of spread out in the distance around the rectangle, walking through the rectangle. We're walking in a rectangle around these cushions. When you're coming on this side, you're going to be walking in this direction. And when you get back to about where this person is here, out that side of that door, come to a full stop. Stand 1 second. Maybe rush. Normally when we walk in church, we go like this. It's all together, hush. Instead of walking meditation, so walking in a straight line, when you come to that corner, you stop. You stand. And be aware of